The town of Pine Ridge was not known for much. It was one of those places where everyone knew each other's names and life moved slowly. On this particular night, however, something unusual stirred beneath its calm surface. The air was cool, carrying the faint scent of pine trees that surrounded the area. Most people were already inside their homes, settling down after a long day. But for Maya Johnson, the night had only just begun. Maya was 14 years old, smart and curious about the world around her. She lived with her parents in a cozy house on Maple Street, but tonight she had gone to visit her grandmother, who stayed a few blocks away. Her grandmother always baked the best cookies, and Maya loved spending time with her. They talked about school, friends, and sometimes even dreams for the future. As she left her grandmother's house, Maya carried a brown paper bag filled with freshly baked chocolate chip cookies. The smell alone made her smile. It wasn't far from her grandmother's place to her own home, just 10 minutes if she walked straight along the main road. But Maya decided to take a shortcut through an alley instead. She didn't like being out too late, especially when it got dark. The alley seemed quicker, quieter, and safer than the longer route. Little did she know how wrong she would be, soon as she stepped into the narrow passageway, the sounds of the town faded away. The alley was darker than she expected, with tall buildings casting deep shadows all around. There were no streetlights here, only the occasional flicker of light spilling over from nearby windows. Maya hugged the paper bag closer to her chest, feeling a strange unease creep up on her. Still, she told herself there was nothing to worry about. After all, what could possibly happen? Then she heard it, a low growl. At first, Maya thought it might have been her imagination or maybe a stray cat lurking somewhere in the darkness. But as she turned her head slightly, she saw movement out of the corner of her eye. Two shapes emerged from the shadows, moving silently toward her. When they came closer, she realized they weren't cats, they were dogs. Large, muscular pit bulls with sharp teeth and menacing expressions. Their eyes glinted in the dim light and their growls grew louder. Fear gripped Maya like icy fingers squeezing her heart. She froze, unsure of what to do next. Should she run, or should she stay still? Before she could decide, the dogs lunged forward, snapping their jaws dangerously close to her legs. Instinctively, Maya threw the paper bag onto the ground, hoping it might distract them. For a moment, the dogs hesitated, sniffing at the fallen cookies. But then, one of them barked sharply, and both returned their attention to her. Maya stumbled backward, tripping over her own feet in her desperation to escape. Her backpack slipped off her shoulder, and she used it to shield herself, holding it in front of her like a makeshift barrier. The dogs circled her, growling and snarling, their hot breath brushing against her skin. Tears welled up in Maya's eyes as panic overwhelmed her. She screamed, hoping anyone would hear her cries for help. But no one came. From the edge of the alley, a group of men watched the scene unfold with cruel amusement. These were members of a notorious biker gang called the Iron Hounds. They had rolled into Pine Ridge earlier that evening, looking for trouble. Their leader, Jake Slater, was a tall man with greasy hair and a permanent sneer etched onto his face. He wore a leather jacket covered in patches that marked him as part of the gang. His boots crunched against broken glass as he leaned casually against his motorcycle, watching Maya struggle. Jake had spotted Maya earlier while cruising through the streets. To him, she was just another target, an easy victim to entertain his bored crew. "Let's see how tough she really is," he had muttered before ordering his men to unleash the dogs on her. Now, as he observed the chaos, he couldn't help but laugh. The sound echoed through the alley, cold and mocking. "Come on, kid," Jake shouted, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "You've got to fight back. Show us what you're made of." His words only added to Maya's terror. She wanted to scream, again, but her throat felt dry and her voice refused to cooperate. All she could do was cower, praying for some miracle to save her. That miracle arrived in the form of headlights. Two bright beams cut through the darkness, illuminating the alley, and startling everyone, including the dogs. A sleek black SUV pulled up at the entrance, its engine rumbling softly. The driver's door opened first, followed by the passenger side. Out stepped two men, both towering figures with confident stances. One wore a leather jacket and jeans, his muscles clearly visible even in the dim light. The other sported a hoodie and sneakers exuding an aura of strength and calmness. For a brief moment, everything froze. Even the dogs stopped growling, their ears perked up at the sudden intrusion. Maya looked up, tears streaming down her cheeks, and saw the two strangers standing there. Hope flickered in her chest like a tiny flame reignited. "Hey!" The man in the leather jacket called out, his voice booming like thunder. "What's going on here?" Jake smirked, crossing his arms over his chest. "Mind your own business, pal," he replied, his tone laced with arrogance. "This ain't none of your concern." The second man, the one in the hoodie, didn't wait for an explanation. He quickly assessed the situation and rushed toward Maya, shielding her with his body. "Are you okay?" he asked gently, his voice soothing despite the tension in the air. Maya nodded weakly, clutching his arm as if it were a lifeline. Meanwhile, the man in the leather jacket stepped forward, addressing Jake directly. "You call setting attack dogs on a kid minding my business?" he said, his tone sharp and unyielding. "Not happening tonight, buddy." Jake laughed, gesturing to his gang. "You want to play hero? Fine. Let's see what you've got." And with that, the stage was set for a showdown unlike anything Pine Ridge had ever seen. The tension in the alley was thick enough to cut with a knife. Jake Slater's smirk widened as he sized up the two men who had dared to interfere. His gang stood behind him, cracking their knuckles and gripping makeshift weapons like chains and pipes. They weren't used to anyone standing up to them, especially not in a place as quiet and unassuming as Pine Ridge. But these two strangers were different. One of them, the man in the leather jacket, stepped forward confidently, his broad shoulders squared and his jaw set. He looked directly at Jake, his dark eyes blazing with intensity. "I don't care if you're bored or drunk or whatever excuse you've got," he said, his voice firm and commanding. "You don't mess with kids. Ever." Jake laughed, though. It sounded more like a bark. "Oh, this is rich," he sneered. "Some big shot rolls into town and thinks he can tell us what to do? Who even are you guys?" The man in the leather jacket didn't flinch. Instead, he crossed his arms over his chest, letting his presence speak for itself. "Just someone who doesn't tolerate bullies," he replied coolly. Then, turning slightly toward the other man, the one in the hoodie, he added, "John, keep her safe." The second man nodded without hesitation. John Cena stayed crouched beside Maya, keeping himself between her and the danger. His calm demeanor seemed to soothe her trembling nerves just a little. "It's okay," he whispered to her, his voice soft yet steady. "We've got this." Maya stared up at him, wide-eyed and still clutching his hoodie. She wanted to believe him, but fear lingered in her chest. These men may have appeared brave and strong, but they were outnumbered. How could they possibly take on an entire gang? Back near the center of the alley, the standoff continued. Jake motioned for one of his men, a burly guy named Tony, to step forward. Tony cracked his neck and flexed his fists, clearly eager to throw down. He moved toward the man in the leather jacket, grinning wickedly. "Let's see what you're made of, tough guy," Tony growled. Without missing a beat, the man in the leather jacket stepped closer too. There was no hesitation in his movements, no trace of fear. When Tony swung a heavy fist at him, the man ducked effortlessly, avoiding the blow. Then, with lightning speed, he countered with a punch that landed squarely on Tony's jaw. The force of the impact sent Tony stumbling backward before he collapsed onto the ground, groaning in pain. Gasps rippled through the crowd of bikers. None of them had expected such strength or precision from this stranger. Even Jake's smug expression faltered for a moment, but he quickly recovered, barking orders to his crew. "Get him!" he shouted, pointing at the man in the leather jacket. Several bikers rushed forward, brandishing their weapons. At the same time, chaos erupted around John Cena and Maya. Another group of bikers circled them, trying to separate the girl from her protector. One of them lunged at Cena with a metal pipe, aiming straight for his head. But Cena was faster. With practiced ease, he sidestepped the attack and grabbed the biker's arm, twisting it until the weapon clattered to the ground. Then, using his wrestling skills, Cena flipped the man over his shoulder, slamming him hard onto the pavement. Maya watched in awe as Cena moved with fluid grace, taking down each opponent with calculated precision. Despite the odds stacked against him, he remained calm and focused. Every time a biker tried to get past him to reach Maya, Cena blocked their path with unwavering determination. He wasn't just protecting her, he was sending a clear message that harming her would come at a steep cost. Meanwhile, the man in ICU, the leather jacket, was holding his own against multiple attackers. Each punch he threw connected with devastating accuracy, knocking bikers off their feet one after another. At one point, two of them managed to corner him, swinging chains in unison. But instead of backing down, he ducked low, grabbed both chains, and yanked them out of their hands. Spinning around, he whipped the chains back at the bikers, sending them sprawling onto the ground. Jake watched all of this unfold, his confidence wavering. This wasn't supposed to happen. His gang was supposed to be untouchable, feared by everyone in Pine Ridge. Yet here were two men, complete strangers, tearing through his crew like they were nothing. It infuriated him. "Enough!" Jake roared, stepping forward himself. He pulled a switchblade from his pocket and flicked it open, its blade glinting in the dim light. "You want to play hero?" he spat, glaring at the man in the leather jacket. "Fine, let's see how brave you really are." The man in the leather jacket raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "You sure about that?" he asked, his tone laced with mockery. "Because I'm pretty sure you're running out of backup." Jake ignored the jab and charged forward, swinging the knife wildly. But the man in the leather jacket was ready. He dodged the first swipe, then the second. When Jake lunged again, the man caught his wrist mid-swing and twisted it sharply. The knife clattered to the ground, and Jake let out a pained yelp. Before he could recover, the man delivered a powerful elbow strike to his stomach, doubling him over. As Jake crumpled to his knees, gasping for breath, the remaining bikers hesitated. Seeing their leader defeated sapped whatever courage they had left. Some dropped their weapons and backed away, while others turned and ran altogether. Within moments, the once menacing gang had dissolved into disarray. By now, sirens could be heard wailing in the distance. Someone in a nearby building must have called the police after hearing the commotion. The sound sent the remaining bikers scattering, leaving Jake alone and humiliated in the middle of the alley. The man in the leather jacket glanced at John Cena, who gave him a quick nod. Their work here was done. Walking over to Maya, the man extended a hand to help her up. "You okay, kid?" he asked, his voice gentle but firm. Maya nodded slowly, wiping tears from her cheeks. Yeah, she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you." The man smiled reassuringly. "No problem. Just promise me you'll stick to well-lit streets next time, all right?" Maya managed a small smile in return, though her legs still felt shaky. Cena placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You were brave tonight," he told her. "Don't forget that." As the distant sirens grew louder, the two men helped Maya gather her things. Her paper bag of cookies lay forgotten on the ground, crushed underfoot during the chaos. Though she felt a pang of sadness at the sight, she knew it didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that she was safe, and that these two heroes had saved her when she needed it most. When the police finally arrived, they found Jake Slater, kneeling in defeat, surrounded by unconscious members of his gang. Officers quickly took control of the situation, cuffing the bikers and loading them into patrol cars. One officer approached the two men, shaking his head in disbelief. "We've been trying to catch these guys for months," he admitted. "How'd you manage to take them all down?" The man in the leather jacket shrugged modestly. "Just doing the right thing," he said simply. Cena nodded in agreement, adding, "Sometimes people need a reminder that bullying isn't tolerated." Before leaving, the officers thanked the pair profusely. Maya's parents also arrived shortly after, rushing to embrace their daughter. Tears of relief streamed down her mother's face as she hugged Maya tightly. Her father shook hands with both men, expressing his gratitude repeatedly. As the scene began to calm down, the two heroes prepared to leave. They climbed back into their SUV, waving goodbye to Maya and her family. Maya waved back, clutching the signed WWE Championship belt Cena had given her. She couldn't believe how much had changed in just one night. What started as a terrifying ordeal had ended with hope, and a newfound belief that even in the darkest moments, there were people willing to step up and make a difference. And so, with engines revving softly, the SUV disappeared into the night, carrying two unlikely heroes onward to their next adventure. For Maya, however, the memory of their bravery would stay with her forever, lighting the way whenever life seemed uncertain or scary. The next morning, Pine Ridge buzzed with excitement. News of the heroic actions by The Rock and John Cena spread like wildfire throughout the small town. People gathered at diners, grocery stores, and street corners, sharing details of what had happened the previous night. Everyone agreed it was a story straight out of a movie. For Maya Johnson, life felt completely different. She woke up to sunlight streaming through her bedroom window, but instead of dreading the day ahead, she felt lighter, braver. On her bedside table sat the signed WWE Championship belt that John Cena had given her. It wasn't just a gift, it was a symbol of strength and courage, something she could hold on to whenever fear crept back into her mind. Her parents were still reeling from the events of the night before. They couldn't stop thanking the two men who had saved their daughter. When Maya came downstairs for breakfast, her mother hugged her tightly, tears welling up again. "I don't know how we'll ever repay them," she said softly. Her father nodded, his voice thick with emotion. They didn't have to do what they did, but they did it anyway. Later that afternoon, Maya's parents decided to invite The Rock and John Cena over for dinner as a token of appreciation. They weren't sure if the pair would accept. They were celebrities after all. But to their surprise, both men agreed without hesitation. When the doorbell rang that evening, Maya raced to answer it, her heart pounding with anticipation. Standing on the porch were Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and John Cena, both dressed casually but exuding the same larger-than-life presence they'd shown the night before. The Rock grinned when he saw Maya, ruffling her hair playfully. "Hey there, champ," he said. "How you feeling today?" Maya smiled shyly, clutching the championship belt against her chest. "Better," she replied. "Thanks to you guys." Cena stepped inside, giving her a warm hug. "That's good to hear," he said. "You handled yourself like a true fighter last night." As they settled into the living room, Maya's parents brought out snacks and drinks, eager to make their guests feel welcome. The atmosphere quickly became relaxed and cheerful. The Rock leaned back on the couch, laughing as he shared funny stories from his wrestling days. He told them about pranks he'd pulled backstage and some of the outrageous things fans had done to get his attention. Everyone laughed, including Maya, who found herself hanging on every word. John Cena added his own tales, describing some of his most memorable matches and the hard work that went into becoming a champion. "It's not just about being strong," he explained. "It's about believing in yourself, even when things seem impossible." He glanced at Maya as he spoke, making sure she understood the message behind his words. Throughout the evening, Maya listened intently, soaking up every bit of wisdom these two heroes offered. For the first time in her life, she realized that bravery wasn't about never being afraid. It was about facing your fears head-on, no matter how big or scary they seemed. At one point, Maya's father asked a question that had been on everyone's mind. "What made you stop and help? You didn't know us and you didn't have to get involved." The Rock thought for a moment before answering. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said simply. "We're all responsible for looking out for each other. If we see someone hurting, we step in. That's what makes a community strong." Cena nodded in agreement. "And honestly," he added with a grin, "those guys picked the wrong night to mess with Pine Ridge. We just happened to be passing through." Everyone laughed, but the sincerity in their voices was unmistakable. To them, helping Maya hadn't been extraordinary. It had been instinctive. They saw injustice and acted, no questions asked. As the night wore on, the conversation turned to lighter topics. Maya's mother served dinner, a hearty meal of roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, and green beans, and the group ate together like old friends. The Rock joked about stealing seconds while Cena teased him about eating enough for 3 people. Even Maya joined in, giggling at their playful banter. After dinner, Maya showed her guests some of her favorite things around the house. She proudly displayed her collection of books and artwork, explaining which ones meant the most to her. Both men listened attentively, asking questions and offering encouragement. When they reached her room, she pointed to a poster of John Cena on her wall. "I've always thought you were cool," she admitted bashfully. Cena chuckled, clearly touched. "Well, I think you're pretty cool too," he replied, "especially after last night." Before leaving, The Rock and Cena gathered everyone in the living room for one final moment. The Rock stood up, clapping his hands together to get everyone's attention. "All right, listen up," he began, his tone serious but kind. "Maya, you showed incredible courage last night. Don't ever forget that. And remember, no matter what happens in life, you've got people who care about you, your family, your friends, and now us." Cena nodded, stepping forward to place a hand on Maya's shoulder. "And if anyone tries to bring you down, you fight back. Not with fists, but with your spirit. Show them who you are, because trust me, you're stronger than you think." Tears welled up in Maya's eyes as she looked at the two men. She didn't know how to express just how much their words meant to her. All she could manage was a quiet, "Thank you." Her parents echoed her gratitude, shaking hands with The Rock and Cena one last time. As the pair prepared to leave, Maya followed them to the door, waving until their car disappeared down the street. Though the evening had ended, its impact would stay with her forever. That night, as Maya lay in bed, she stared at the championship belt beside her. It represented more than just a gift. It was proof that heroes existed even in real life. And maybe, just maybe, she could be a hero too someday. The next day, Maya returned to school, carrying herself with newfound confidence. When classmates asked about the belt, she told them the whole story, leaving out no detail. Some kids didn't believe her at first, but when pictures of The Rock and Cena visiting Pine Ridge appeared online, everyone was amazed. Maya became a local celebrity overnight, not because of what had happened to her, but because of how she'd faced it. Meanwhile, The Rock and Cena continued their journey, heading to their next destination. They knew they wouldn't forget Pine Ridge or Maya anytime soon. In a world full of challenges, moments like these reminded them why they chose to use their platform for good. Whether on screen or off, they believed in making a difference, one act of kindness at a time. And so, the story of the night two wrestling legends saved a young girl from danger became legend itself. A tale of bravery, compassion, and the power of standing up for what's right. For Maya, it marked the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with hope, resilience, and the knowledge that she was capable of overcoming anything life threw her way. The next day at Pine Ridge Middle School, things felt different for Maya. As she walked onto the school grounds, clutching her backpack and the cherished WWE Championship belt, she noticed whispers spreading among her classmates. Some pointed at her, while others whispered excitedly behind their hands. At first, Maya felt nervous. She wasn't used to being the center of attention, but then she remembered what John Cena had told her. Show them who you are. When the bell rang, signaling the start of homeroom, Maya took a deep breath and entered her classroom. Her teacher, Mrs. Harper, greeted her with a warm smile. "Good morning, Maya," she said kindly. "How are you feeling today?" Maya hesitated for a moment before replying, "I'm okay. Better than I thought I'd be." Mrs. Harper nodded, clearly aware of what had happened the previous night. "That's wonderful to hear. If you ever need to talk, my door is always open." As the lesson began, Maya tried to focus on her work, but it was hard to ignore the curious glances from her classmates. During recess, the questions finally came pouring out. "Is it true?" asked Liam, one of the boys in her class. "Did The Rock and John Cena really save you?" Maya nodded shyly, pulling the championship belt from her bag. Gasps erupted around her as everyone crowded closer to get a look. "Wow, it's real!" exclaimed Chloe, a girl who usually kept to herself. For the first time in her life, Maya found herself surrounded by friends, not just acquaintances, but people genuinely interested in hearing her story. She told them everything, from the terrifying moment when the dogs attacked her to the incredible arrival of The Rock and John Cena. Every detail seemed to captivate her audience, and by the end of her retelling, applause broke out spontaneously. "You're so brave," said Emma, another classmate. "I don't think I could have handled that." Maya blushed, shaking her head. "I was scared too," she admitted, "but they helped me see that I can stand up for myself." Her words resonated deeply with her peers. For many of them, this was more than just an exciting story. It was a reminder that even in the face of danger, there was strength within everyone to fight back. Word of Maya's encounter quickly spread throughout the school. By lunchtime, students from other grades were asking to meet her. Teachers joined in as well, praising her courage and encouraging her to keep sharing her experience. Even Principal Dawson made an announcement over the intercom during afternoon assembly. "To our student Maya Johnson," he began, his voice echoing through the halls, "we want to recognize your bravery and resilience. You remind us all that standing up for ourselves and others is something we should strive for every day. Thank you for inspiring us." Applause erupted again, louder this time, filling the entire building. Maya sat quietly, overwhelmed by the support she was receiving. She hadn't expected any of this. She'd only wanted to move past the fear and pain of that night. But now she realized her story had the power to inspire others. Later that week, local news outlets picked up the story. Reporters interviewed Maya and her family, capturing footage of The Rock and John Cena's visit to Pine Ridge. Clips of the two heroes speaking about kindness and community responsibility went viral online. People across the country watched, touched by the message of hope and solidarity. In interviews, both men emphasized the importance of stepping in when someone is in trouble. "We didn't do anything special," The Rock insisted. "We saw a kid in danger and acted. That's what anyone should do," Cena added. "It's not about being famous or strong. It's about doing the right thing, no matter who you are." Their words struck a chord with viewers everywhere. Social media lit up with hashtags like #BeHero and Stand Up for Others, as people shared stories of their own acts of kindness. Teachers used the incident as a teaching moment in classrooms nationwide, discussing topics like bullying, empathy, and leadership. Back in Pine Ridge, Maya became a symbol of strength for the entire town. Parents thanked her parents for raising such a courageous daughter, and kids looked up to her as a role model. Strangers approached her on the street to express their admiration, often leaving Maya speechless. One evening, as Maya sat at the kitchen table finishing her homework, her mother placed a newspaper clipping in front of her. It featured a photo of Maya smiling alongside The Rock and Cena, along with a headline that read, "Local Heroine Inspires Nation." Tears welled up in Maya's eyes as she stared at the picture. "I'm proud of you," her mother said softly. "You've shown everyone what it means to be brave." Maya nodded, still struggling to process how much her life had changed in such a short time. She knew she wouldn't have been able to face these challenges alone, and she didn't have to. Between her family, her new friends, and the two extraordinary men who stepped in when she needed them most, Maya had discovered a network of support she never imagined possible. At school the following week, Maya's newfound confidence continued to grow. She volunteered to lead a project in science class, something she would have avoided before. When a younger student was teased on the playground, she stepped in to defend them, using the lessons she'd learned from The Rock and Cena. Slowly but surely, Maya transformed from a shy teenager into someone who inspired those around her. Even Jake Slater and his gang couldn't escape justice. After their arrest, investigators uncovered evidence linking them to several other crimes in neighboring towns. The Iron Hounds disbanded, and its members faced charges ranging from assault to illegal dogfighting. News of their downfall brought relief to Pine Ridge, proving that bad actions eventually catch up with those who commit them. As the weeks passed, Maya stayed connected with The Rock and Cena through occasional messages and video calls. They checked in regularly, cheering her on and reminding her of her inner strength. On one call, Cena joked, "Don't forget, you owe us a rematch someday. Maybe we'll see you in the ring." Maya laughed, though secretly, the idea didn't seem so far-fetched anymore. Who knows? Maybe one day she'd step into the spotlight, herself, not as a victim, but as a champion. By the time summer arrived, Maya had fully embraced her role as a leader in her community. She organized fundraisers for local shelters and participated in anti-bullying campaigns at school. Her story had ignited a spark in others, encouraging them to take action in their own lives. Looking back, Maya realized that the night she met, The Rock and John Cena wasn't just a turning point for her, it was a catalyst for change in Pine Ridge and beyond. What started as a terrifying ordeal had blossomed into something beautiful, a movement of kindness, bravery, and unity. And as Maya stood under the golden rays of the setting sun, watching kids play happily in the park, she knew one thing for certain. Heroes weren't just born, they were made. And sometimes all it took was believing in yourself and having the courage to step forward, no matter how dark the night might seem. Months had passed since the night Maya Johnson's life changed forever. Pine Ridge was no longer just a sleepy little town. It had become a place where people believed in standing up for one another. Inspired by Maya's bravery and the actions of The Rock and John Cena, the community came together to create something special, an annual event called Stand Up for Others Day. It was a celebration of kindness, courage, and unity, and Maya was at the heart of it all. On the day of the event, the local park buzzed with energy. Families gathered under colorful tents, enjoying food, games, and music. Volunteers handed out flyers and stickers with messages like "Be brave and help someone today." Children ran around laughing, their faces painted with superhero masks, while parents chatted about how much the town had grown closer over the past few months. At the center of the park stood a small stage decorated with balloons and streamers. A banner hung above it reading, "Stand Up for Others Day" in bold letters. Maya stood backstage clutching a microphone in her hands. Her heart raced as she peeked out at the crowd. Hundreds of people had shown up, not just from Pine Ridge but from neighboring towns too. Cameras flashed as reporters captured the moment, eager to document this unique celebration. "You've got this," her father whispered, giving her shoulder a reassuring squeeze. Maya nodded, taking a deep breath. She stepped onto the stage, greeted by applause so loud it made her cheeks flush. For a moment she simply stood there, looking out at the sea of smiling faces. Then, she raised the microphone to her lips. "Hi everyone," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "My name is Maya Johnson, and I'm here today because of two amazing people who taught me what it means to be brave." The crowd erupted into cheers as The Rock and John Cena appeared behind her, waving and grinning. They hadn't planned to attend the event. Their schedules were packed with work commitments. But when they heard about it, they couldn't stay away. Seeing them step onto the stage brought even louder applause, and Maya felt a surge of gratitude knowing they were there to support her. "I used to think heroes only existed in movies," Maya continued, finding her rhythm. "But then I learned that anyone can be a hero, even kids like me. All it takes is standing up for what's right, even when it's hard." She paused, glancing at The Rock and Cena before continuing. "These two men didn't have to help me that night. They didn't know me and they didn't owe me anything. But they did it anyway because they care about people. And now, I want to pay that forward. I want us all to stand up for each other, whether it's helping someone being bullied or lending a hand to a neighbor in need." Her words resonated deeply with the audience. Parents nodded approvingly, while children listened intently, inspired by her message. When she finished speaking, the applause was deafening. The Rock stepped forward next, his booming voice echoing through the park. "Maya's right," he said, pointing at her with a proud smile. "Heroes aren't born, they're made, and every single one of you has the power to make a difference. Don't wait for someone else to act. Be the change you want to see." John Cena followed, his tone softer but equally impactful. "It's not about fame or strength," he said. "It's about doing the right thing, no matter how big or small. Whether it's stopping a bully, supporting a friend, or just being kind, your actions matter. Together we can build a world where everyone feels safe and valued." Their speeches left the crowd buzzing with excitement. Afterward, activities kicked off across the park. Kids participated in workshops about anti-bullying strategies while adults attended panels on fostering stronger communities. Local artists performed songs and skits celebrating themes of courage and compassion. Everywhere you looked, there was a sense of purpose and connection. Throughout the day, Maya stayed busy, shaking hands, posing for photos, and sharing her story with anyone who asked. Strangers approached her to thank her for inspiring them, telling her how her courage had encouraged them to take action in their own lives. One woman recounted how she'd finally reported a years-long case of harassment after hearing Maya's speech. A boy admitted he'd stood up for a classmate being teased, saying, "If Maya can do it, so can I." As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the park, The Rock and Cena joined Maya on stage once more. Together, they led the crowd in a pledge to always stand up for others, no matter the circumstances. Everyone raised their hands in agreement, promising to carry the spirit of the day forward. Before leaving, The Rock pulled Maya aside for a private moment. "You're incredible, kid," he said, his voice filled agreeing. Days following the Stand Up for Others Day event felt surreal for Maya Johnson. She had never imagined that her story, a frightening night turned hopeful thanks to two unexpected heroes, would touch so many lives. Yet here she was, weeks later, still hearing about the impact it had made. People in Pine Ridge continued to talk about the event, sharing stories of how they'd stepped up to help others since then. It seemed like the whole town had been inspired to embrace kindness and courage. At home, Maya's family celebrated the success of the day together. Her parents beamed with pride whenever someone mentioned their daughter's name. Neighbors stopped by to thank them, saying things like, "Maya reminded us all what really matters." Even her grandmother called every evening to say how proud she was. Each compliment made Maya feel lighter, as if the weight of fear from that dark night had finally lifted. One evening after dinner, Maya sat on the couch with her parents looking through photos from the event. They laughed as they flipped through pictures of her standing on stage with The Rock and John Cena, surrounded by cheering crowds. There were also snapshots of kids wearing superhero masks, volunteers handing out flyers, and families enjoying the festivities. Every image captured a moment of joy and connection. Her mother picked up one particular photo, a close-up of Maya holding the microphone, mid-speech, and sighed happily. "You looked so confident up there," she said. "I don't think I've ever seen you shine like that." Maya blushed but smiled. "It wasn't just me," she replied. "The Rock and Cena helped me believe I could do it, and everyone who came to the park showed me that my story mattered." Her father nodded, leaning forward to place a hand on her shoulder. "That's true, but don't forget. You're the one who lived it. You're the reason people are talking about standing up for each other now. That takes real strength." Hearing those words filled Maya with warmth. She realized how far she'd come since that terrifying night in the alley. Back then, she'd felt powerless, like nothing she did could change anything. But now she knew differently. She understood that even small actions, like speaking up or lending a hand, could make a big difference. The next morning, Maya woke up early, eager to start her day. School had resumed its usual routine, but something inside her had shifted. She no longer shied away from challenges or hesitated to raise her hand during class discussions. When classmates struggled with assignments, she offered to help without hesitation. Teachers noticed the change too, often praising her leadership skills during group projects. One afternoon, while walking home from school, Maya spotted a younger boy sitting alone on a bench near the park. He looked upset, his backpack slumped beside him. Without thinking twice, she approached him gently. "Hey, are you okay?" she asked, crouching down to meet his eye level. The boy sniffled, shaking his head. "Some kids at school were mean to me today," he admitted quietly. Maya nodded, understanding exactly how he felt. "I know it hurts," she said softly, "but remember, they're wrong about you. You're awesome just the way you are." She stayed with him for a while, listening as he shared his worries. By the time his mom arrived to pick him up, he was smiling again, promising to stand tall the next time someone tried to bring him down. As they walked away, the boy's mom mouthed a silent "thank you" to Maya, leaving her feeling grateful for the chance to help. Word of Maya's kindness spread quickly among her peers. Soon students began seeking her advice when they faced problems, knowing she would listen without judgment. Some even started calling her the hero of Pine Ridge, though she always laughed off the nickname. "I'm not a hero," she'd insist. "I'm just trying to do what's right." Despite her humility, Maya couldn't deny the ripple effect her actions were creating. Kids in her school formed a new club dedicated to helping others, naming it the Courage Crew. They organized fundraisers, cleaned up local parks, and visited senior centers to brighten residents' days. Every project stemmed from the same idea Maya had championed. Small acts of kindness could spark big changes. Meanwhile, The Rock and Cena kept in touch, checking in regularly to see how Maya was doing. During one video call, Cena grinned widely as he held up a newspaper clipping featuring an article about the Courage Crew. "Looks like your legacy is growing," he teased. "Think you'll take over the world next?" Maya giggled, shaking her head. "Not the world," she replied. "Just our little corner of it." The Rock chimed in, his voice filled with pride. "That's all it takes, champ. Change starts small, and you're proving that every single day." Their encouragement meant the world to Maya. Knowing that these two extraordinary men believed in her gave her the confidence to keep going, even when challenges arose. As winter approached, Pine Ridge prepared for another celebration, the unveiling of a mural honoring Maya and the lessons she'd inspired. Local artists worked tirelessly to paint a vibrant depiction of her standing alongside The Rock and Cena, surrounded by symbols of unity and bravery. The mural became a landmark in the town, drawing visitors from miles around. On the day of the Idubar unveiling, Maya stood before the crowd once more, this time with her family beside her. As the tarp fell away, revealing the stunning artwork, cheers erupted throughout the park. Maya gazed at the mural, her eyes misting with tears. Beside her, her mother whispered, "This is your story, Maya. A story of courage and hope." For Maya, the mural represented more than just her journey. It symbolized the power of community. Everyone in Pine Ridge had played a part in making the town stronger, kinder, and more united. Together, they had proven that no matter how dark things might seem, light could always break through. That night, as Maya lay in bed, she reflected on everything that had happened, from the terrifying encounter with the biker gang to the incredible support she'd received from The Rock and Cena. Every moment had shaped her into the person she was today. She thought about the boy on the bench, the Courage Crew, and the countless lives touched by her story. Most importantly, she thought about the future, a future where she could continue inspiring others to stand up for what was right. Before drifting off to sleep, Maya hugged the championship belt tightly to her chest. It wasn't just a gift anymore. It was a reminder of the strength within her and the endless possibilities ahead. No matter what challenges lay in store, she knew she wouldn't face them alone. With her family, her friends, and the values she'd learned along the way, she was ready for anything. And so, Maya drifted off to sleep, dreaming of brighter days and bigger dreams. In Pine Ridge and beyond, her story lived on, a testament to the fact that even in the darkest moments, heroes can emerge, and anyone has the power to make the world a better place.